All right, so thank you. So I just wanted to get the recording up um, for those who aren't here yet. So the question was, what does it mean to contrast something? And looks like everyone is volunteering. So the first one to volunteer is so hard to tell in this chat. Who's the first? Oh yes, Leah was first. Okay. So Leah, go ahead and turn on your microphone. Well, would you like to turn on your microphone? I guess I didn't tell you I would be asking you to turn on your microphone. I need a volunteer to turn on their microphone and give us a definition of what it means to contrast something. Okay, go ahead, Leah.
Can everybody hear me? I hope this is better. So the contrast is to point out differences between two things that are related.
All right, perfect, Leah. Good job. So it's kind of a difficult word to describe. I spent a long time thinking of a definition that was easy to understand and yet was true to the definition, because when you contrast something, they have to be somewhat similar. So it's kind of like comparing, but it's not comparing because you aren't focusing on the similarities. You're focusing on the differences. So that's why I said it's to point out differences between two things that are related. So they're related, but they're not the same thing. So that's why it's kind of confusing. But that is a good definition. So good. So now that we know what it means to contrast something, can we have an example? Who would like to give an example? Who would like to contrast two things and show us how contrasting works? Does anyone want to volunteer for that? Now I'm going to put a line in the chat box to make it easier to see. Anyone like to volunteer and contrast two objects? All right, Danielle, is that a volunteer or is that an agreement? That's a volunteer? Okay, perfect. Go ahead and turn on your microphone and give us an example of contrasting two things that are related, but you're pointing out the differences.
The Titanic helped the passengers to his last breath, whereas the captain on the Costa Corantida, I think, didn't fled the mainland.
Good example, Daniel. Good job. So those two captains are related because they're both captains, but you were focusing on the differences. One stayed and helped, and one was chicken and tripped into a lifeboat, or so he said. All right, very good. So that was our lesson on contrasting. Now we know what it means to contrast something, and we have had an example of what that looks like. All right, so I have one more volunteer. I need one more volunteer for a review, and that is for the lesson 8 on recent research. What is the most important thing to keep in mind when researching modern events? So you've had some research, some practice researching historical events, researching the Titanic, which happened over 100 years ago. But when you are researching something that happened very recently, maybe a week ago or a month ago, what is the most important thing to keep in mind? Does anyone remember, and would anyone like to turn on the microphone and answer that question? Any volunteers? And if you don't think you know, you can take a guess. Oh dear, everyone forgot. Okay, Daniel has a guess. Go ahead.
When researching modern events, you have to make sure that the resources are credible.
There we go. We need to make sure that the source is credible, because when something is in the process of happening, there can be a lot of conflicting facts and a lot of opinions, a lot of heated discussions, a lot of, it's like when something just happens, there's a lot of emotions and stuff that's tied in with that event, but after the dust settles, everyone can kind of take a deep breath and focus on what really happened, versus when you're in the middle of it, things can be kind of complicated. So that's why we need to make sure we have a credible source that gives you the facts and doesn't distort them. So here are some examples of not credible places to find news. Facebook can be a really interesting place, but social media is not a good place to find actual research. So good. Twitter would also not be a good place to cite. However, you could find links on Twitter or social media that lead you to credible sites, but just because your friend said something on Twitter, on Facebook, it doesn't mean that it's true. And if you're on any social media, you'll know that that is very true. Also, blogs tend not to be as credible unless the blog is written by someone very credible. So if it's the governor's blog, or if it's someone from, I don't know, the director of some very qualified educational group, and he has a blog, well, that might be a credible source. But anyone can start a blog, and because of that, it's not a good place to cite. Also, if there's a website that leans strongly one way or another, for instance, I was researching the Costa Concordia this week, and I came across a website that was a communist website. And I didn't know it at first, and the information there seemed kind of interesting, but then I looked up at the top of the website title, and it said like the communist something of a certain location. I was like, oh dear, I don't think I'm going to quote from this site. Communist, I don't know the name of the website. I kind of moved on. Communist, it's kind of like the belief that the Nazis believed. I don't know it enough to define it right now, but it tends to be not a good place to find information. Yeah. Basically, the idea, at least what I understand, is that the government takes everything from the people and then is supposed to redistribute it. So to like tell everyone to give all your money to the government, and then the government will give your money out evenly or something like that. So it's a theory, a government theory that tends not to work well. So anyway, I don't understand it enough to define it completely, but if there's a website that's written by someone with such extreme views like that, it's probably not going to be a good place to find reliable information. So thank you, Daniel, for remembering that. And that is the end of our review. So we're just going to spend a very small time of our time today on the review. Does anyone have any questions about either the lesson on contrasting or recent research before we move on? I know we're only spending a little bit of time, but want to kind of keep moving. Okay. All right. Next, we're going to go into our essay discussion. And that is why I gave you that Google document. We're going to make a list of elements to contrast. So in a lesson, I think it was the lesson on contrast, I brought up a list of various elements that we can contrast between the Costa Concordia and the Titanic. So for instance, as Daniel already mentioned, we can contrast the captains, we can contrast the actual ships, we can contrast the rescue, the evacuation, things like that. So we're going to make a list of elements like that to contrast, okay? So hang on, Aaron, not quite yet. I'm just explaining the directions. And then once we have our list, we'll go around and talk more about each of those items on the list and also give each other comments. So let's all go ahead and hop over to that Google document. If you're having trouble, let me know, okay? There was a button right next to the webinar code. So you'll just click on that button, and Google will probably give you a funny name, a funny animal name, like the anonymous chicken or the anonymous turtle or snake. Just ignore that, okay? I know it's kind of funky, but that's what Google does, so I can't help that. So sorry about that. Yeah, so go ahead and hop over to the Google document if you aren't there already. I have to get it up, so 1 second. Wow, my internet's really slow. Okay. All right, mine's loading. So hopefully you see a Google document that says Titanic versus Costa Concordia. We have a table there with 3 columns. In the first column, we will put, oh, okay, I'm trying to type element there. We'll put the element that we are contrasting, so such as, let's say, captain, since we already brought that up. We can contrast the captains. And then in the Titanic box, we can put some notes about the Titanic captain. And then under Costa Concordia, we can put some notes about the Costa Concordia captain. So let's first start in the element section, okay? So everyone can start typing stuff in the first column. What else can we contrast? We can contrast the captains, safety features, thank you, good job, passengers, the passengers' thoughts, interesting. Good, I'll make some more boxes. Looks like we'll need them. Leadership, ship, evacuation, good. And this Google Doc will be available to you even after the webinar, so you can use it and continue working on it even after the webinar. Probably will be a good place to look if you are in your essay, if you are contrasting the ship or contrasting the captains. Okay, go ahead and work on that for about 2 minutes. I'll be right there. Or I'll check in with you in a few minutes. Oh, wow. You all are working so hard. Look at that. Great job. Okay, so we'll spend about 1 more minute, and if we don't get everything um, filled in, that's okay. We're actually going to be turning our microphones on and verbally going through our list as well. So just 1 more minute, and then we'll go ahead and have someone talk. And actually, while the person is talking, we could continue to add. I don't see any problems with that. So. Okay, thank you everyone. Wow, look at that. We have a whole chart now of different things to contrast as well as information on the Titanic and the Costa Concordia. Amazing. Great job. I'm really impressive. I'm really impressed with with everything that you did. Such a short time. So great job. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is have someone volunteer to go through, choose one element, and then to give their thoughts on the Titanic and Costa Concordia. So just sort of a verbal presentation versus just the written stuff we have here. So would anyone like to volunteer to speak first? Just choose an element. Okay, Noelle, go ahead. So turn on your microphone. Tell us which element you're talking about, and then give us some thoughts on the Titanic and some thoughts on the Costa Concordia.
Okay. Wait, can everybody hear me? I'm gonna be talking about captain. I think one difference between them is that Titanic captain, um or one website said he wouldn't hop onto the boat until, or the lifeboats until all the lifeboats are filled and there's an exit room. Whereas the Costa Concordia captain, he on a lifeboat and he made all these excuses for not getting off. And he went to land and um he eventually got caught.
Good thoughts, Noelle. I added under Titanic, refused to enter lifeboat, as you said. And then maybe I'll add under the Costa Concordia, he ran for his life, but got caught. Yeah. Would have been a lot better. He probably would have been okay even if he stayed, but I think he was sort of chicken and didn't want to do his duty. Okay, so who would like to go next? Thank you, Noelle, for doing the captains. I'll go ahead and make that bold so we know we've already talked about it. Okay, Melissa, perfect. So go ahead and choose an element that we haven't talked about yet and give your thoughts on the ships. Okay, Melissa, I can't. Oh, sorry. There you are.
Okay, I'm going to choose evacuation. Yeah, Titanic, the women and children were getting to the lifeboats first. They didn't really expect the Titanic to sink, so they just started having women and children getting. And for the Costa Concordia, they were assigned to a lifeboat, and they told everyone to go to the lifeboat.
Thank you, Melissa. Good. I put down under Titanic, they didn't think the Titanic would sink. Good. Whereas I think under the Costa Concordia, everyone thought that something wasn't right, but the crew was telling them that everything was fine and under control. So that is another contrast. All right, thank you. So let me add a line in the chat box. Sorry, it's too hard for me to keep track of who's next. So looks like Leah wrote her name first, so she gets to go. Okay. Sorry, that's the only way I can think of.
Well, I've been passengers thought. I only wanted because I watched the entire documentary. But on the Titanic, the passengers had no idea what was going on. They didn't know that they had crashed into a lifeboat, and they just thought that everything was perfectly fine and that nobody. I don't even think they thought about thinking. They just were having a grand old time, and they were just enjoying the leisure boat. While on the Costa Concordia, even though the crew members and the captain all said, "Oh, it's gonna be okay," and everything, people didn't really believe it. And then once they started thinking, once the Concordia started tilting, they started realizing that this is like it was like the Titanic movie itself, but it's not a movie; it's real life. And all of them were like, "Oh my God, I think I'm gonna die." And so um, it was they were really like they were really devastated to see that 5 months worth of leisure and life, like they're leaving a boat like that they've lived in for a long, long time. And so I think they are pretty devastated as well.
Good points, Leah. Thank you. Good. I'm trying to think of how I can turn your comments into a comment under Costa Concordia. You said the Titanic passengers were ignorant of the danger. Maybe I'll just put well aware of the danger, and they were scared because they knew what was going on, versus the Titanic, I don't think people really knew how serious it was. All right, thank you. All right, so someone who hasn't gone yet, there's a line. Oh, Daniel has a line. All right, who's next? All right, Aaron, go ahead.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Okay. I'll choose safety features. Um, with unlike the Titanic, the Costa Concordia had enough lifeboats, a lot of life vests, more life vests than the passengers needed, and they had the emergency drill. So I think yes, that contrasts with the Titanic, who had they didn't have enough life belts and didn't have enough lifeboats either.
Good point, Aaron. I wonder if they even had drills back then on the Titanic. So that might be something we want to put under Titanic. Okay, someone's messing around with the Titanic box. All right, thank you. Okay, thank you, Aaron. So let me go ahead and put. Oh, thank you, Daniel. All right. Let's give someone else a turn, Daniel, just because you've already talked twice. Is that okay? If there's time, I'll let you go, but just since you already talked twice. Sorry about that. All right, Emily, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Okay, I'm gonna do ship. The Titanic scraped against an iceberg and didn't like go inside like the Costa Concordia. And the Costa Concordia scraped against a nearby island, the rocks near that, and yeah.
Good job, Emily. Yes, I didn't think about that. So the Titanic hit an iceberg, whereas the Costa Concordia hit rocks. That's a good contrast. All right. So next. Okay, Jason. And then after Jason, we'll have Daniel, okay? Thank you for waiting.
On the Costa Concordia, it was basically everyone gets to the boat, and everyone once, of course, the abandoned ship was called, everyone was allowed to get straight to the boat. Whereas on the Titanic, the first class people were told, and then the second class, and then the third class basically had to figure it out for the road. And most of them were borrowed from the
All right, good thoughts, Jason. And let's see, I'm trying to figure out which box you were commenting on. Maybe we don't have a box for that yet. Oh, general mentality? Oh, yes. Good. Yes, and I think that what you said is definitely true. However, aboard both of the ships, there was kind of this lack of information. The crew didn't tell the Costa Concordia passengers that they really were sinking. And the same kind of thing happened on the Titanic, but I would say the Costa Concordia passengers were more informed than the Titanic passengers. So I see what you're saying. All right, great information. So next is Daniel, and then I think we need to move on unless someone else wants to comment. I know, this is a lot of information. Okay, Daniel, whenever you're ready.
Alright, so the Titanic sunk by its front slowly being raised up in the air and its back being sucked into the water until it was completely vertical, and then it slowly just fell into the ocean. Whereas the Costa Concordia sank by slowly turning 90 degrees onto its side, till finally sinking.
That's very interesting. Good point. Yes. And the Titanic cracked in half as well, whereas the Costa Concordia stayed in one piece. And actually, if you've been reading some more recent articles about the Costa Concordia, they were actually able to straighten it out by attaching some monstrous thing to its side and making it stand back up like so it's normal. But since it has so much water in it, it's like barely above the water, so it looks really short and weird. And I think they're trying to figure out where to take the ship apart for scraps and stuff, and probably to get people's jewels and whatever else they might have in it out of there. But yeah, it looks really gross and really weird. And you know how the captain said he did not hit a rock and how you make so many excuses? If you look at some of the pictures, you see an enormous rock lodged in the side of the ship. So I think someone's not quite telling the truth here. Anyway, thank you for participating. That was a great discussion, and we had this amazing chart of with so much information in it. This is going to be very useful for you when you write your essays. Of course, you'll need a little bit more thought if you choose one of these to write about for your essay. This isn't quite enough information to fill a whole paragraph, but it will definitely get you started. So again, I will have this available to you. I'll probably post a link or something on the website so that you can continue adding to this and continuing helping each other out. So thank you for participating. Excellent work there. Okay, so thank you for participating in this discussion. Let's now move on to the fun thing, which is the research game, and I'm going to make this into a sort of Jeopardy game. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Jeopardy. Hopefully you kind of understand the format of that game. It should be really fun. Yeah, okay, great. I'm glad you know what it is. We used to watch it every night. It's very interesting. I can't say it's always informative. A lot of it's just sort of random facts. But anyway, this will be a helpful Jeopardy game because it's going to be focusing on the Costa Concordia and the Titanic. And it's a research game because you might know the answers to some of the questions, but most of them you'll probably have to do a little bit of research and really fast research in order to beat the other team. So I have two teams here, with Jason being team captain of team 1 and Noelle being team captain of team 2. So I hope this works. You'll work with your team members to answer the questions. Let's see, I think I have rules here. Oh yes, here we go. So the team captain gets to choose the question, and if no one answers the question in 1 minute, the question will sort of time out, and it will just, I'll tell you the answer and we'll move on. No one gets the points. And we do need to end the game around 2:55 unless people can stay later. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, I guess Abigail's not here yet, but oops, whoa. Okay, so let me, sorry, that should say 3:55. Should have done that, Melissa. Thank you. We're going to travel back in time. Let me get the actual game up. 1 second. All right. Once you see the game or the screen, I think it will make more sense. I need to get a timer or something set up. Okay, so you might want to open up another tab so that you can do some research. And should we play that you have to start with the $100 questions before you get to, like, you have to go in order? Should we play that way, or should we play you can choose anything? Okay, I have 1 yes, 1 no, 1 yes. Anything? Okay, I'm actually going to say, let's say you have to go in order. That way, the game kind of, if you're losing, you have a better chance of catching up near the end. Okay? So let's go in order. Start with the $100 questions. But you can, like if the captain's column is down to 400, then you can choose the 400 even though other categories are still on the 100. I hope that makes sense. All right. Sorry, I'm still getting my timer set up. We'll get started really soon. Okay, so again, team captain gets to choose the question, and then their team works. No, wait, I'm getting confused. How does this work? The team, no, no, no. The team captain gets to choose the question, but any team can answer it. So it's the first team to answer it that gets the question. And you want to make sure that your answer is correct, because if it's not correct, then you lose those points. So if it's a $100 question and you get it wrong, then you're negative $100. So I'm not sure. I'll give you a minute to talk with your team about how you're going to work that. So how are you going to figure out who answers the question and when you type that in the chat box? Because if everyone types, 4 wrong answers in the chat box, then you're down $400. So go ahead and take a minute and discuss with your team captain about how you're going to work that out, okay? Aaron, I think some people are saying that it'd be nice to have a place to discuss your answers somewhere that wasn't public so that everyone else can copy your answers. So I'm setting up some Google Docs. Okay, so I just posted a link in the chat box for Team 1, and only Team 1 go on that document. No one from Team 2. Okay, so just to refresh everyone's memory, Jason is the team captain of Team 1. We have Jason, Abigail, Emily, and Aaron, and then Team 2 is Noelle, Melissa, Daniel, and Leah. Sorry, Jason, I'll fix that in a second. Okay, Jason, that should be fixed now. Sorry about that. Okay, so it's 3:50 and we're starting a little later than I thought. So can everyone stay till about 4:10? Okay, if you have to go, that's okay. I'll probably pause about 4 o'clock, give some closing comments, and then we'll continue playing until 4:10. Okay? All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started before before more time goes out. So, Team 1, why don't you go first since you're Team 1? Choose a question, but then either Team 1 or Team 2 can reply. Okay? So, Jason, choose a question. All right, so he chose ship for $100. Here's the question. Oops. Okay, so the question is the height of the Titanic in feet. If you want to answer this question, type your team in the chat box. So type Team 2 or type Team 1. Okay, so Team 1 has an answer. Go ahead and type up your answer, and we'll see if it's correct. All right, so Aaron guesses 175 feet, and that answer is correct. Good job. So Aaron, let me check. Forget, you are on Team 1. So you got that correct, and you now have $100, and you get to choose the next question. So that would be Jason. You get to choose the next question. All right, ship for 200. Here's the question. So again, type Team 1 or type Team 2 in the chat box. And some of the questions might be harder than others, and you'll have to research, okay? All right, so here's the question. What is the gross tonnage of the Costa Concordia? The tonnage is like the volume of the ship. So type Team 1 or type Team 2 when you are ready to answer the question. And if no one answers the question for a whole minute, it will go to nobody. We'll just skip the question. All right, team 1 has a guess, and their answer is 114,000. All right, I'm going to give that to you. I had 114,500, but yours looks more exact, so good job. So you now have 300, and you get to choose the next question as well, so go ahead. And remember, team 2, you can guess as well, even though they get to choose the question. So what's next, Jason? All right, ship for 400. How many restaurants were aboard the Titanic? Team 1 or team 2 when you have an answer. How many restaurants were aboard the Titanic? All right, team 2. The answer they have is 5. Unfortunately, that is incorrect. Sorry about that. And then, whoa, hang on. Then Melissa, who is from team 2, said 4, and that is correct. So you went down 400, and then you went up 400, and you got it. So, all right, so I'm just going in the order that the answers were in the chat box. And once someone gets it, then we move on. All right, good job. So there were four restaurants aboard the Titanic, and now team 2 gets to choose. Yes, Jason, you did get the question, but they got it before. If you look in the chat box, Noelle, who's on team 2, had a guess, and then she was immediately followed up by Melissa. So that's why I went that way. Okay, so team 2. She had negative 400 because Noelle had a wrong answer, but then, oh, why does it go? Hang on. Hang on. Okay, so for some reason it's not making it go to 0. So, like I thought, well, negative 400, you add 400 to that, it should be 0, but it's saying 400. So I don't think the math's quite right. But since that's how the program's working, I guess you guys get 400. So team 1 will just have to work a little harder. So just keep in mind that if you go negative, the math doesn't quite work right. So we could do that, but it's getting kind of confusing. So let's just carry on, okay? Sorry about that. Let's just carry on. It's getting too confusing. All right, so team 2, which question? Go ahead and choose one of these. So Noelle, go ahead and choose captains for 100. Choose ship for 600. All right, captain for 100. And Noelle, hopefully you can also see the question on the screen. It should be coming up on the screen share. All right, so here's captain for 100. Captain Schettino said that he what into a lifeboat? Go ahead. Team 1 or team 2? Make sure you type. Okay, so team 1 said fell, and that is kind of correct. I'll give you one chance to choose a little different word. He actually said a different word. There you go, tripped. Good. Fell would be, I think he might have said fell, but tripped was the word I was looking for. So good job. So you now have 400 points as well. Good job. All right, so team 1 gets to choose the next question. Okay, 400. For which question? Oh, captains for 200. Okay. All right, so here's the next question. Captains for 200. True or false? Captain Smith was denied entry into a lifeboat, but managed to survive until the arrival of the Carpathia. Team 1 or team 2? Go ahead. All right, team 1 said no. Captain Okay, hopefully by that you meant false, and that is correct. So next time type false, okay? All right, good job. So you now have 600, and you get to choose the next question. Did he, Aaron? That's really sad. Because I know well, I don't think people really know. There's a lot of myths and theories. Okay, evacuation for 100. So here's an evacuation question. Get ready, team 1 and team 2. How many lifeboats were successfully launched aboard the Titanic? So not just aboard the Titanic, but they were successfully launched. Team 1 or team 2? All right, team 2, we have a guess for 19. Unfortunately, that's incorrect. Team 1, that is also incorrect. It's not 20. So you're down to 500. Team 2 is 300. Any other guesses? How many lifeboats were successfully launched aboard the Titanic? I think there were 20 lifeboats total, but not all of them made it. Good job, Leah. There we go. Team 2, 16. All right, so you're back up to 500. Nice work. And team 2 gets to choose the next question. All right, Captain for 400. I hope everyone's having fun. I know it's a little bit complicated, but hopefully it's looking pretty fair. We have the tie so far, so hopefully everyone's having fun. Okay, so Captain for 400, how many years of experience did Captain Smith have? How many years of experience? Okay, so I have an answer for Team 2, Team 21. I think that's Team 2, and that is correct, 43 years. Good job. So that would go to Team 1, who has now 900 points. Go ahead and choose the next question, Team 1. This is a fast-paced game. I thought you would spend like 2 minutes on each question. Fast researchers. Okay, Team 1, choose the next question. Evacuation for 200. All right, and does anyone have to go before we continue our game? Does anyone have to go? It's 4 o'clock. No? Okay. If anyone has to go, let me know, and then I'll... Oh, he's coming soon? Okay, so let me just give you... Let's pause for a little commercial break. I'm just going to give you some announcements and stuff so that we can... if anyone has to go, they can just go after when they need to. So just to sort of summarize what we will have covered today, we were able to talk about contrasting, what that means. We were also able to practice our analysis skills during our discussion, both our Google Docs and as well as our discussion after that. And we're also practicing our research skills and seeing how our reading comprehension, research comprehension was during the game we're currently playing. Looking ahead, we have a final lesson and essay due on Saturday. That lesson is already posted, and that's due at Saturday at noon. That's the final lesson, and if you get that done, as I said, I'll be sending you a little prize for finishing the course. And make sure to check your email. I don't have 2 of your addresses, so if you see an email asking for your address, that's why I'm asking for your address. Also, while you're writing your essay, you have several resources available to you. The Fakebook page has research, the Google document that we just worked on that has a lot of analysis, and then also this Jeopardy game. I'll post this on the website as well. Under each of these questions, I have a link to the web page where I found that information, and I tried to use quality web pages for that information. So for any of these questions, there's a web page that you can go to and learn more about that topic. So if there's something on this game that was interesting to you, you can click on the link under the answer and read more about that. So that's another resource available to you if you need more research. So I think those are all the announcements I have. So thank you for listening to that. I guess I haven't thought about that, Erin. Try to get your essay on time, if possible, just because I'll be kind of busy after this weekend, so I'd like to have the essays in. All right, so let's go ahead and listen to evacuation for 200, which I believe was the question. Yes, evacuation for 200. All right, so how many lifeboats were successfully launched aboard the Costa Concordia? All right, team 1 said 26. Unfortunately, that's incorrect. All right, team 2, does that say 1/2? Half of the lifeboats, is that what you mean? Or 1/2 of the lifeboat? I'm kind of confused. Okay, sorry, Daniel, I don't think I understand your questions. I'll just skip that. Team, make sure you type your answers in very clearly so I can understand it, okay? All right, Jason, that is incorrect. Sorry, that is correct. Team 1, 23 lifeboats. Good job. So you lost the points and now you gain the points back. All right, so you're up to a little over 1,000 and you get to choose the next question. Did it? What was it supposed to be? Should have been 900? Ah! Okay, so 900, 200 less. So let me pretend that you got this wrong. Look at that. It doesn't... Okay, the math is really funky on this. Okay, there we go. Now it's 900. Okay, so I got the scores right. Okay, yes, so for some reason it didn't like the negative, so actually team 2 was 400 more than it ought to be. So now it's totally correct, okay? So let's not worry about that anymore. Team 1, what's the next question? All right, passengers for 100. Here's the question. Who is Diana Arlotti? Who is Diana Arlotti? Make sure you type your team and the answer, and the answer has to be clear, otherwise it doesn't count. Okay. Sorry, that's incorrect, Daniel. All right, we have another guess from team 2. Yes, good. The youngest person who died. Good. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to do this because you got it wrong and then you got it right. So I think I'll just leave your score as is. All right, good. Next question, team 2. Maybe we should just keep score on a separate thing. It's getting really confusing. All right, so team 2, which, okay, captain for 600. Here's the question. Captain Schettino wanted to do a what, which is why he sailed so close to the coast. I'm looking for an actual phrase. All right, Leah. Go ahead. Leah put down team 2 first. So Leah, a sail by salute. Correct. Good job. And let me just double check. You are on team 2. So team 2 now has 700 points. Good job. Oh, you did, Melissa. That's great. Okay, and team 2 gets to choose the next question. Team 2? Evacuation for 400. Here's the question. How many minutes passed between the Costa Concordia's collision and the general alarm? How many minutes? Type down your team name. Okay, unfortunately that's incorrect. It's incorrect, sorry. It's also incorrect. So we have 2 incorrects for team 1, 1 incorrect, team 2. Whoa, we're getting a lot of interesting answers. Okay, you know what? This question is just not a good question. Everyone is having a lot of interesting answers here. So the answer I got was 63 minutes. So this will just be a pass question, okay? No one gets their points deducted, otherwise everyone would have like no points left, okay? 63 minutes. So let's go ahead and choose the next question. I know you did, Aaron, but there were like, you would have lost like 1,200 points because of there were like 4 wrong answers. So that's why I said pass. All right, so Noelle, go ahead and choose the next question. Yes, please. All right, passengers for 200. How many passengers died aboard the Costa Concordia? Team 1 or Team 2? Quickly, if you know the answer. Good job, Team 1, 32. That's nice and easy. Good, so now you have 1,100 and you get to choose the next question. All right, ship for 600. What was the gross tonnage of the Titanic? Team 1 or Team 2? Make sure you tell your team. Gross tonnage of the Titanic. I'll give you a hint. It's less than the Costa Concordia. That's correct, Jason. Good. 46,000 tons. Very good. It looks like Aaron confirmed you with a little bit more accurate figure. Nice job. So you're now up to 1,700 and get to choose the next question. But we have some really high numbers here, so don't give up, Team 2. There are plenty of chances to catch up. All right, passengers for 400. How many people died aboard the Titanic? And just give me the best answer that you can. I know it's kind of a hard question. Team 2. Okay. I think it was a little bit more than that. All right, Team 1 said 1,172. It's really hard to guess. Really hard to get that figure. I have something a little different. Okay, I got Leah's figures. I'm not sure, Leah, where you got that information, but that's the number I got. 1,517. So, you know what? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 guesses. Now, if we are going to play this question, let me check. Team 2 got 1 incorrect answer. 1 incorrect. Say Emily. Team 1. This is really confusing. Melissa is team 2. Okay, sorry, I need a second. All right, so what happened was both teams got 2 incorrect answers before there was Leah's correct answer. So I'm just going to not give either of you penalties and just give Leah the correct answer. Hope that makes sense. So both of you should lose 800 points, but instead of doing that, I'm just going to be giving the right answer to team 2. Okay, hopefully that sounds fair. Alrighty. Team 2. Which question? Ship for 1,000. Okay, this is a $1,000 question. When was the Costa Concordia's maiden voyage? Maiden voyage. I need a year. It needs to be right on, okay? Team 2, 2012. That's incorrect. Sorry. Any other guesses? Team 1, 2005. That's also incorrect. (2007) May 1st. That's interesting that you have an exact day. That's it's not the day, not the year that I have. But it looks like Aaron followed you up with the number I was looking for, 2006. 2006 is the number I got. So, let's see. How does that work on? How does this work? So 1, 2. So unfortunately, is that how it works, Jason? My brain's starting to get tired. You got one wrong answer, one right answer, and then okay. So basically, no one gets this question. The answer was 2006. Okay. All right. Well, at least no one got hurt. Really, it said 2007. Interesting. So like under this later when you go back onto the Jeopardy, you'll see it says go to link. So if you click on this link, that's where I got that answer. So maybe that wasn't a super reliable source. I tried to choose reliable sources, but you never know. Like I said, this is a kind of a recent event, and sometimes they get facts wrong because there hasn't been enough time to verify things. So anyway, where were we? I think it was Team 2 chose the last question, so Team 2, go ahead and choose again. We're almost done. It's pretty close. All right, Captain for 1,000. Here we go. When was Captain Scatino promoted to the role of captain? I'm looking for a year. Again, a year. Type down your team name and a year that Captain Scatino was promoted to the role of captain. So before maybe he was just part of the crew. When did he actually become a captain? Which year? Team 2 says 2002. That's not the answer I have. Sorry. 2006. That is correct. Team 1. Good job. All right. So team. Yeah, that's going to be kind of ouch. Team 1 pulls at 27,000, and Team 2 unfortunately lost a lot of their points. Sorry. You still have a chance though. There's 3,200 points still waiting there. So go ahead and choose Team 1. Sure, that's nice of you. All right, so Team 2, Jason's letting you choose. All right, passengers for 600. How wealthy was John Jacob Astor? This is a really hard question. I just need an estimate, okay? If it's close, I'll give it to you. Type down your team name, please. About how much did he have? Okay, Emily. Goodbye. Thanks so much for coming. Okay, bye, Melissa. Thanks so much for playing. Maybe I'll post the the final scores on the website. Okay. All right. Goodbye. Thank you. Bye. Okay. So any guesses? How wealthy was John Jacob Astor? And I'll give you a clue. There wasn't such a thing as a billionaire yet. At least I don't think so. Any guesses, Team 1 or Team 2? Okay, I think this will be one of our past questions, unfortunately, because, like Jason said, it's really a hard question. Maybe I shouldn't have put it on here. So the answers I got is 150 million in 1912 dollars, which would be 3.5 billion dollars today. So just so you know, that's about how wealthy he was, and he was the wealthiest passenger aboard the Titanic. So that's a pass question. Go ahead and choose again, Team 2. Yeah, I know, that is a lot of money. Even today, 150 million would be a lot of money, but way back then, that's a lot of money. I think he was part of the fur trade or involved in the fur industry. Okay, so Team 2, only 3 more questions. Noel? All right, evacuation for 600. When the last Costa Concordia passengers were rescued, how much was the ship listing in degrees? So in degrees, how much was it tipping over? Was it 5 degrees? 180 degrees? All right, Team 2 has a guess of 90 degrees. That's not quite correct. It wasn't completely on its side, right? But that's a good guess. Any other guesses? 90 degrees would mean that it was like rotated completely 90 degrees, so like a right angle. Team 1, 65, that's also not correct, so you both are even. 30 to 50 degrees for Team 2. It was more than that. Okay, so it looks like it's kind of becoming a guessing game. Okay, so everyone go ahead and pause. Go ahead and do your research. Find an article that tells you, okay, instead of just guessing. I'll go ahead and just clear everything that's been said. So research and then try to come back with an actual number of how many degrees the ship was listing when the last passenger was rescued. So like right near the end, how much was it listing? And listing means tipping. So tipping over, was it tipping only 10 degrees? Was it 20 degrees? It wasn't 90 degrees. 90 degrees would mean that it was like completely laying down on the water, and it wasn't quite doing that. But it was extremely extreme. So what was it exactly? We'll go ahead and take a minute to research, and if no one has the answer, I'll just tell you, okay? Okay, so what we'll do is we'll have Team 2 give a guess and Team 1 give a guess, and whoever's closer gets the points, okay? So Team 1 has 5 seconds to put up their guess. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Did you hear the answer? I was playing with my microphone. Sorry. So the answer is 80 degrees. And you can find that by going to this link here. It has a fairly reliable source explaining that it was 80 degrees when the last passengers were taken off. So that means that it goes to Team 2 because that was closer. So you now go up to 700. Yay! Sorry, I gave it to them and then I took it off and then I gave it to them again. All right, so Team 2, choose one of the last questions. You can technically still tie the game if you get every question. All right, passengers for 1,000. How many passengers were aboard the Costa Concordia? About. So I'm looking for as close as you can get, okay? I have a number that's rounded to the hundreds place. Guess carefully. This is a $1,000 question. Okay, team 1 got it. 4,229. I had 4,200. Yay! Good job. All right. Well, we only have one question left, so I'll go ahead and read that. How many seats were left unused on the Titanic lifeboats? So not how many lifeboats were there, not how many people were saved, but how many seats were left unused? And be careful, it's not a question, it's not an easy answer. You have to actually research it because there's an actual number and it's probably not what you think. Okay, Daniel, goodbye. I hope you had fun. All right, so team 1, that is correct, and sorry, looks like they beat you, Noelle. So team 1 got that. Oh, goodbye, Leah. All right, so the final score is 4,700 for team 1 and $700 for team 2. And unfortunately, that is not your prize. I cannot give you $4,700, even though that might be kind of fun. All right, so good job. Oh, good. I'm glad it was fun. And again, I'll be posting this on the website so that you can go back over these answers and click on these go-to links. This will take you to the web pages where I got all this information. So there are, like, let's see, 5 times 4, there's 20 articles that I found that you can access through these questions. All right, well, great job. Let's see. I know we're over time, so let's just go ahead and wrap up our webinar. I'm glad that you enjoyed the Jeopardy game. Looks like the last thing I need to do is just see if anyone has any questions and close this in prayer. So does anyone have any questions? All right, everyone did a great job. I kind of already gave the recap, so that's why it's kind of, I don't really have anything to say. Oh, that's a good question, Noelle. So once I get your essay, I'll make a note to myself that you completed your work, and then I'll be mailing that to you all. So depending on how fast the mail is, it will get to you probably by the end of next week. And again, it's just a little price, but just something to reward you for all your hard work. Okay, well, let's go ahead and close in prayer. Dear God, thank you for this time that we've had, these 3 weeks, to study analysis and research and writing. Thank you for letting us live in a country where we have the freedom and opportunity to study and learn. And thank you most of all that we can learn more about you and study your character and study your word. And I pray that that would be our heart's desire, and that we wouldn't be distracted by all the other things that we could be focusing on, but I pray that you'd be our main focus, and that your truth and everything about you would be the main thing in our lives. I pray that you would bless these students and help them to pursue some amazing goals this summer, and to have a restful summer so that they can be refreshed and recharged for the upcoming school year. Please bless them in everything that they do. Amen. Okay, well, this is the end of our Muse webinar. Thank you for coming, and I hope to work with you all again soon. I will be emailing you about, like, I think I have one summer course that I'll be offering, so I'll keep you posted on that. All right, goodbye. Thank you for coming.